Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 27 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can follow me on X at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with March Madness and the NCAA tournament. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any winning captors to get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. Nothing else. Please visit the Odds Breakers. Become a free picks and Telegram subscriber. What a crazy first and second round of the tournament. I was right about a lot of things. I was wrong about some probably more important things to myself because I am almost completely out of Survivor. I only have like 2 left out of 8, 9, 10. 2 out of 10. I mean, I'm getting my ass kicked. At this point, you should have 3 to 4 left at least. Anything over 5 or over, you're killing it. Texas Tech was a key for me that lost in the very last game on Sunday night. So that was tough for me. They weren't even in the game. Alabama playing better than they've ever played, even without their guy. Even without Holloway. It's like, what? Where did this come from, Alabama? You know, and it's a head scratcher, you know, because you look at them down the stretch, they didn't look that scary. Losing to Ole Miss in their tournament, losing to Georgia 2 games before that, you know, just really hard to explain where this is coming from. They played defense out of their minds against Texas Tech. But it is what it is. We still have a few left, and guess what? We are doing a Sweet 16 Survivor over at Splash Sports, so you can reboot and get back in a Survivor that's going to have some decent money in it. We are already over 100 people in it, so I think that's cool. It's same amount of money, $20. Just pick winners and see how far you go. So I'm excited to get that going. I'm going to get in a couple entries as well. Looks like 143 people so far in there. So it's actually going to be somewhat big. Prizes in the thousands. So get in our Sweet 16 Survivor over at Splash Sports. We'll throw an article out, of course, about that as well. So you could obviously get in before Thursday, before the deadline. Yeah, I want to dispel a myth out there. It's kind of like how the tournament started for me. You know, it's like, I hate it when people's a fan of a team and they say, I just want a good game. I just want a good game. That's horseshit. If somebody says that and they're a fan, they're lying or they're not a fan. Because you never want a good game when you're a fan, especially when you're playing freaking High Point. You want a blowout. You want to be relaxed the whole time. You do not want a good game. The networks want good games. They want good games. We don't as fans. We want blowouts because I hate having to lose to a small, little shit team like High Point and be absolutely freaking embarrassed the whole weekend. But that's just what Greg Gard does. Ever since he started coaching, that first year he took over for Bo, can't even really count that. Bo coached half of it. I think he made the Elite 8 or something. And then Sweet 16 after that, and didn't even smell the Sweet 16 in the last 10 years. And we've been 3 seeds, 5 seeds, 4 seeds. Of course, we're the first 5-12 upset. And when I say little shit team, I want to apologize to High Point because the Badgers are the little shit team, and you're the better team. Because you fought your asses off and we couldn't get off ball screens to play defense. And I'm sorry, you do learn how to get off ball screens before high school, but you still have to be re-coached that. That's why you have coaches. Major League Baseball players that are a hell of a lot better batters than everybody in the world have batting coaches, and people have to be reminded. And Greg Gard is doing a terrible job at this tournament and a terrible job at stopping these guys from choking. We're talking about a Badger team that went to Michigan and beat them, went to Illinois and beat them, went to Purdue and beat them. You know, huge wins. Can't even sniff the round of 32. Went to Michigan State. Oh, a Big Ten tournament. Last second shot, it took Michigan to win. You know, absolutely unreal. So, no, if you're a fan, you do not want close games, especially in these situations. But it was a rough start mentally for me. I didn't put a play on the Badgers, no premium plays or nothing. So, it's not like I trusted them as a favorite anyway. But that was tough. And it was great for people that watched the tournament. A lot of people pick 5-12 upsets. Like John Rothstein says, nobody roots for Goliath. It's true, and it's tough to get out of the first round because of it, and you can just ask Florida. But I will even say the refs were on the Wisconsin side. I was watching the game, and I thought High Point was getting screwed a little bit. The refs were on my team side a little bit. And High Point still won at the end. You just smelled the choke, and they just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. Sometimes in tournaments, people play out of their minds. So that's a game they were kind of for me. I'll give you a game that they were very much against me and everybody else, and this is why. CBS needed a good slot on Sunday for Kentucky against Texas. Kentucky had no chance against Santa Clara without a massive amount of help, and the refs gave them the game. Every perfect block, they're calling fouls. They're ignoring the coach calling a timeout at a key situation. They had the turnovers completely backwards wrong. Kentucky could just smash them, and they wouldn't get called for a foul. It was clearly a 15-point one-side swing. And that is because CBS had a standalone game with Texas having to face an opponent, and they wanted it to be Kentucky. And you'll never see that on paper, but they know when they're going to be hired for their next jobs. So that's what they feel they have to do. But I think they're right because nobody gets scolded for it. Twitter blows up. A couple places are mentioning it a little bit, like Fansided. There's more and more media groups actually having the balls to be honest in this extreme dishonest times. But it is a sad thing to see. In general, I thought the reffing was pretty dang good in the tournament, minus a few things. You know, I've seen much worse reffing in the past. That game was bad, and then there's another one I'm going to get to in a minute, but Akron, they ended up just being a too trendy play for me. You know, I want Akron to go to the Sweet 16. And, yeah, like I said, end up being too trendy. They couldn't even sniff a victory against Texas Tech. And Texas Tech played a really good game. Just yin and yang for them. South Florida, what a hell of a comeback. How did they cover 4.5? You know, I mean, that thing was just dead, drawing 1% chance, just almost like a ticket you'd throw away. And then South Florida comes back to at least cover, you know. So that was kind of crazy. A lot of people that jumped on South Florida late felt pretty good about that one. Just Louisville missing 2 free throws at the end. You know, people were sitting there with 5.5. Should have lost that one, even with the line value. I didn't want to take it because I missed the good line, and I thought Louisville should crush them. But then, you know, Louisville goes against Michigan State. And Michigan State, healthier team, a little bit better of a team, yet still somewhat fraudulent. Want to be a professional handicapper? Check out theoddsbreakers.com, where we now have live odds and pick tracking. Click on live odds pick tracking, and you can start tracking your picks, partnering with TallySight. Once you develop records and a following, you can use that information to move to the next level, gaining all that experience in your sports betting career. Make sure you check out live odds and pick tracking at theoddsbreakers.com, partnering with TallySight. You know, this Michigan State team, I don't think they're that great. And they're probably the most vulnerable 3 seed out there right now, in my opinion, in this tournament. Big Ten in general did pretty well in the tournament. You know, you still got Michigan. You got Illinois. You got Purdue. You got Michigan State. You got Nebraska. All those teams winning. Oh, by the way, Iowa. Get to that. Only a few losers like Iowa State, Wisconsin, UCLA made it to the second round at least. But yeah, Big Ten crushing it in the tournament. There is no small conference. The Big East isn't a small conference that's left in this tournament. There's been no Cinderellas. VCU tried. High Point tried. Absolutely no Cinderellas. I could even say that Utah State really put up a hell of a game against Arizona, and how the hell did we cover that one at the end? We had Arizona first half premium, and we had Arizona minus 11.5 also premium, and we won by 12. A little bit of luck on my side on that one. I mean, also bad luck when Miami lost earlier, though. Down by 4 points with like a minute left and lose by 10. But that's how it is in the tournament, and that's why it's such a challenging thing to do, and yet it's a very fun thing to do. I'm still alive in 2 survivors. Hell, I have a shot. Maybe I'd be a little bit more contrarian, you know. I mean, if you're playing against a bunch of people, why not? Texas. Just Texas teams in general have been doing really good. Minus the very last game in Texas Tech, but, you know, you got to give a ton of props to Houston and how they're blowing out teams. Texas, the 11 seed, winning 3 games in a row, beating Gonzaga. And, man, how bad is that West Coast Conference in this tournament? If St. Mary's got blown out, that was kind of a key thing. I thought St. Mary's were going to win 1 game. You know? I thought they would at least get to the third round of 32 here. They couldn't even beat Texas A&M. And Texas A&M got blasted by Houston. But Texas teams in general were doing well for a while. But right now, it's all about the Big Ten. I mean, there's still some SEC left. There's Tennessee, Arkansas, and Alabama. You know, you still got some SEC left, but the Big Ten is reigning right now, you know, which is really interesting. Purdue's got a shot, you know. Michigan's got a hell of a shot. Illinois has a shot. You know, these are top 8 teams on KenPom. Iowa State, is Joshua Jefferson coming back? I was really worried about Joshua Jefferson's injury. It sucked. I have Iowa State. Some futures on them. File 4-1s. And right now, the way Michigan's playing and how they beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in St. Louis, it doesn't look like it's really that hard for them. I watch Michigan, Arizona, and Houston. They kind of look like the same team. Just relentless defense. And of course, 1 game with Alabama. Can I trust them? I don't know. But they look the same, you know, an unstoppable force. St. John's defense looked just like that, but their offense didn't look that good. That's the question about Duke, because Duke doesn't look that great right now. They look a little suspect. And yes, they did cover for me finally against TCU. That was more about TCU playing bad. But St. John's has to have a better offense if they're going to beat Duke. You know. They play fast, but a lot of clunks in that shooting. A lot of bricks, I should say. Siena was fun when they played Duke. That was that very first game after Wisconsin lost. It was almost going on at the same time. That was interesting. Not even close to a cover for Duke in that game. Let's talk a little bit about Florida. What happened there? 1 seed Florida. Kind of burned me in a lot of brackets. I thought Florida had the easiest path over there. Houston, suspect offense in the 2 seed. Maybe Illinois was a little bit challenged. I thought Illinois might be the best 3 seed in this tournament. So that was one thing. But at the same time, I could not believe they lost to Iowa. Iowa hit that last 3. You can tell Iowa is not as good of a team as them. Then you got Nebraska beating Vandy by 2 points. You know, now they have to face each other. Nebraska versus Iowa. We got 2.5 point spread there. I find that interesting. I'll get into the spreads and give you a free play here in a few minutes. But still doing the recap. Here's the other game that pissed me off. Kansas versus St. John's. St. John's was crushing them. And you could tell that they were purposely put back in the game by the officials. There's only 2 fouls on Kansas with literally 2 minutes left in the game until almost the very end of the game. Actually, with 30 seconds, they still had 2 fouls, but they had to start fouling just to get into the point where they might need to foul for the bonus. And St. John's had the ball last. But they're getting absolutely hammered. They're hammering St. John's, and the refs were not calling because they wanted a close game. So everyone thought, what a great game. Kansas versus St. John's. Did you see that game? These people are stupid. Because it wasn't a great game if you really understand basketball. You know, if you understand how it got to that point, it was a shit game. If you were laying points with St. John's and you got screwed by this, that was a shit game. You know? But most people are ignorant, basketball-wise, and they're going to think that's a good game, even though it was a fixed to a close game, which is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Rewatch that second half. Please rewatch it. If you have any doubt on what I'm saying, rewatch it. Watch it again. And you'll see exactly what I'm seeing. There is absolutely no chance in hell in a fair game that was not a 10 to 20 point blowout. So, unfortunately, we do get that in the tournament, and people will always, call those good games. But at the same time, I was really happy with that kid to make that final shot, the junior there. And I forgot his name. But what a charge to the basket. Last second shot made it in. And I had the under, and I was sweating that one. Oh, my God, was I sweating that one from the shenanigans going on in that. But, yeah, the Iowa upsets is really the biggest talk. And it probably takes away the Wisconsin and the Gonzaga loss a little bit, being that Iowa beat Florida. And Florida won it last year, so you can't really feel too bad for them. But Florida did not play a perfect game. Iowa just fought. They fought their asses off. They look like a different team out there. Can they do that again against Nebraska? I don't know. That's going to be such an interesting game. I'm going to wait on that line a little bit myself. But, the biggest play for me was Iowa State, or one of them, where you can just tell Kentucky was fraudulent in that situation. We had Iowa State in the first half under. Even though Iowa State started out really bad, they ended up just overwhelming defense on Kentucky. And they kind of looked the part like Michigan, Arizona a little bit as well. You just hope Joshua Jefferson comes back. He might. He has an ankle sprain, but they said it wasn't high. Or somewhere. I read that somewhere. And a lot of days to get walking on that thing again. Because their game's on Friday. So I'm going to watch that spread all week in itself. All right. Let's take a quick look at these lines, and I'll give you a play. The Texas versus Purdue. Purdue minus 7.5. Total 148.5. I have nothing to say on this one right now. Didn't cap it yet much. I think the line's kind of right. Purdue has just been a pain in my ass when I fade them, like when I did bet Miami. Texas playing either minds. When does that stop? Iowa versus Nebraska. Kind of like down a little bit. Minus 1.5, minus 120. Total 133.5. I got burned on their last under. The first game went to 106, 108 points. The second one went to overtime, like 145, 150 points. And this was the total on it. So I think it's a correct total. Matter of fact, I probably even lean to the over a little bit, the way these two teams have been playing. Arkansas versus Arizona. Arizona minus 8.5, total 166.5. I do have a premium play on this right now. So I'll skip that and see if the line moves and maybe talk about that with our guests coming up this week. Illinois versus Houston. Houston minus 3.5 now, total 139.5. Money's coming in on Houston because of the home court advantage, and that's kind of what I expected. I didn't want to lay 2.5 with Houston. I thought about it to try to go for a middle, but didn't want to. I don't know. I think Illinois, you're looking offense versus defense in this. And usually defense wins out, especially when you're playing at home like Houston is. So sad for any Illinois takers because bad situation for this 3 seed. St. John's versus Duke. Duke minus 6.5, total 142.5. The way Duke's playing, I don't know how you're laying points with Duke. Now, sure, it worked out after the Siena game because that became a great spot to bet Duke. But Jesus, man, St. John's is a legit team. They beat UConn multiple times, just beat Kansas by themselves. 5 on 8. I give a lot of props to what St. John's doing. I'm kind of excited about that future I do have. On St. John's, Alabama, Michigan. Michigan minus 10.5, total 175.5. That's an interesting game. I have 2 premium plays on this game, so I can't talk too much about it right now. But what Alabama team are we going to get? We're going to get the Alabama team that smoked Texas Tech. We're going to get the Alabama team that lost to Georgia. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And this game is going to be, I believe, in Chicago, right? So that makes it even that much more harder. There's going to be a lot more Michigan fans, I believe, in the Chi-Town area. At the United Center where the Bulls play. And then you have Michigan State versus UConn. UConn minus 1.5 plus 100, total 135.5. And this is the one I'm going to give out here. I like UConn. All right. I bet UConn, and that is my free play. UConn is just a better team than Michigan State. Michigan State's good. But, as much as Izzo cries, that Dan Hurley's going to cry harder and influence this game. UConn plays better defense, ranking 11th in defensive efficiency, 8th in opponent field goal efficiency. Believe it or not, Michigan State's defense ranks 13th in efficiency, but their effective field goal percentage from the opponent only ranks 53rd. The reason that they rank so high is because they are a great rebounding team on defense. Okay? So that kind of makes their numbers look better, and they are a great rebounding team on defense. But at the same time, UConn is a great rebounding team on offense. And that's going to go a long way. UConn's got guys that's been there before. They feel like they're robbed from last year. Alex Caravan, Braden Mullins, great freshman coming in. Terrace Reed, Malachi Smith. They have some really, really good ballers there. And I just think that UConn has more offense than Michigan State's going to have. Michigan State offense ranks high because of rebounding, but their effective field goal percentage only ranking 66th, not exceptionally high. Michigan State lost to teams like UCLA in the tournament. Got blown out by Michigan twice. Lost to Wisconsin. Lost to Minnesota away. They do have a nice win against Purdue away. But their win against Illinois was fugazi, if you watch that one. So I like UConn to win in this matchup. And this game is going to be at Capital One Arena out in Washington. I could see UConn maybe have more fans there. There's a lot of probably public people, fans that like UConn that never went to the school. Michigan State, probably a little bit farther to travel. And UConn just the better offense and defense, in my opinion, right now. But I will say both teams have been erratic and a little bit untrustworthy. Tennessee versus Iowa State. Iowa State minus 4.5, total 138.5. This line should move towards Tennessee because of the Joshua Jefferson, and then I might be on Iowa State by the time we talk on our next show. My friends, make sure you get into our Survivor. It's going to be posted on our website very shortly, and I'm excited to talk to you this week. Most likely podcast on Tuesday and Wednesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Go get some winners.